Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the PodUp with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. PodUp, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Thursday edition of PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Thursday, that means our good friend from Jack's, our college football analyst, Brent Beaird, will be joining us here in just a second. Second portion of the show today, we're going to be joined on the Baker Sporting Goods High School Roundup with John Patton from the Ocala StarBanner. We got two local teams playing in the Final Four. I don't know if it's today or tomorrow, but he'll break that down for us, let us know what's going on there. But in the meantime, let's head on down up to Jacksonville, and we're joined by our good friend Brent Beaird. Good morning, Brent. How are you?
Shane, I'm doing fine. It's a wonderful time of year with hoops as we get into tournament action next week, and obviously spring football as we'll start having more and more schools open up.
No doubt about it. Brent, before we get into football, we got to recap what happened last night. Obviously, on campus here, all the female sports won, all the male sports lost. Gators in baseball get upset by Florida Atlantic. Then, obviously, we saw what happened in basketball. Florida is pretty much behind most of the night to a good Missouri team. I think Gator fans need to realize this is a very, very good Missouri team, and just came up a little short last night. Probably the last time you'll see Trey Mann play in a Gator uniform in the O'Connell Center. But they're still firmly in the tournament. And, Brent, I don't know if you got to watch the game. Any thoughts on the Gators last night?
Yeah, I did. It was disappointing in some ways, but they made a valiant comeback. Trey Mann, as you mentioned, 21 points. Gosh, he was 9 of 11 from the floor and averaging 20 points over the last 3 games, which is very impressive. Now, they've got an important game coming up with Tennessee. They play Sunday at noon in Knoxville. And just to kind of give you an overall view of where they are as far as in Lenardi and the projected seeds, they are basically a 7. Now, Missouri is an 8. That tells you how good they are, as Shane just mentioned. And by the way, Tennessee is a 5. Now, Tennessee has not been great. Let's be honest about that this year. Some people would even say that they were average compared to what they have been. But look, if you're that high seed, you've got something going for you. What Florida really needs to keep from happening is either end up in that 8 or 9 spot. Because, Shane, as you know, if you're 8 or 9, you end up playing a 1, and that you don't want to do in your second game is what I mean, or most likely in the net, which has replaced the RPI. Florida's around 26. Alabama's like a 7. Arkansas is a 19. This is the net. Tennessee is a 22. Florida's a 26. LSU is a 30, and Missouri is a 47. Now, Ole Miss is a 60. They beat Kentucky the other night, and there's some real doubt about what Kentucky's going to do. But if you beat Tennessee, and we don't know exactly what the matchups are going to be in the SEC tournament next week in Nashville, but Florida can certainly do themselves good. And like Shane said, all they're really doing right now is playing for seeding. They are in the tournament. There's no problem with that. The question is going to be can they win a 7-10 or 8-9 matchup and get to the second round? Shane, I would say if this bunch could get to the Sweet 16, that would be tremendous with the difficulty they've had this year.
Yeah, of course, you follow Twitter. A lot of the fans, this is the way Coach Mike White coaches or whatever. Look, like I said, and I had Jimmy Dykes on last week, we're fortunate to have Mike White. Be careful what you wish for, people.
Oh, sure.
Look, Mike White is not out there turning the ball over 15 to 20 times a game. His problem is we don't have a legitimate point guard. Appleby's gone to the point, and he has great flashes at times. He's one of those kind of guys that you love what he does at times, and then he does some boneheaded stuff. He tries to do too much, but they're still a very good basketball team, and it drives me crazy when Gator fans get so upset and want to fire Mike White. Like I said, there was a stat last week or 2 weeks ago I saw, Brent. There's only 9 head coaches in Division I basketball that have taken their team to the NCAA tournament for 4 consecutive years. It's getting ready to be 5, and he is one of those 9 in all of America. So he's a good coach. You can't blame a coach when guys turn the ball over. It's not like in football. If your quarterback's turning it over a ton of times, you put him on the bench and you go in with the backup and you turn around and hand the ball off to protect the football. You got to dribble and pass the ball in basketball. There are going to be turnovers. We do need to eliminate them, but it is what it is. I thought, they came from behind last night, showed a lot of character, and just came up a little bit short. Got made an unbelievable play at the end. Our weak side help came over a little bit late. But give Missouri credit. I got a text here on the Titan Omar text line referring to basketball. Then we'll get to football in just a second, Brent. It says, "Good morning, Shane. Castleton is a fiery dude that plays with a lot of emotion, but it's my opinion you have to be able to control the outburst when it comes to the refs and calls you don't agree with, and let your coach get teed up if he so chooses. As a former player and coach, what's your take on that? You okay with a player getting the occasional technical foul?" I am not. I'd like to get Brent's thoughts on this too. Castleton is a fiery guy. I think guys are getting teed up a little more now for things that they say because there's no crowd noise.
True.
The refs are hearing everything. I like Castleton. He's got great energy. He's a really good player. My only negative on Castleton is he's got to keep his shirt tail tucked in. I know that sounds silly, but it's part of the, you see the officials go to him and tell him to tuck his shirt in.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if we need to get him a longer jersey or what, but it's just a bad look. But, I don't like players getting technical fouls. That's for the coach.
Well, I'm with you. That's where it belongs, is on the coach's shoulders. Now, Castleton, to his credit, actually tied the game late with a couple of free throws. I like him. I think he's done a good job for them. But your point's a good one. Look, here's the reality with these officials. I mean, they've got a hard job. They do basically a good job. But if you show these guys up early, or if you show that you're not going to cooperate with them, they took that in the back of their mind to some degree. I'm not saying that hurts him in every game, but he'll get that under control at some point. And again, this is not an excuse. It's just reality. It's really in some ways amazing what they've done, isn't it, Shane, without their best player?
Yeah, that's why I think people forget. Not only did you lose the SEC preseason player of the year, who's a tremendous player, the way you lost him, it's not like he blew his ACL out. I mean, it was a tragic event that I don't think people realize what it did to these young kids that are 17, 18, 19 years old, not only just to the players, but to the coaches. I mean, can you imagine being a coach, what Mike White and his staff went through when Keontae was laying on that floor in Tallahassee? I mean, people don't understand just the bond you have, and when somebody's life's at stake, it definitely changes it. So I think they've had a great year. Still have a lot of basketball left. Like you said, Brent, they could be one and done in the NCAA tournament, or they can make it to the Sweet 16. You never know. It's all about matchups. Brent, let's get to college football. The face of college football from a media standpoint, Reese Davis from ESPN signs a big deal.
He has been extended by ESPN. He will continue to be the host of College Game Day. Now, transparency here. Reese and I are friends. I've known Reese for a long time. Reese started at ESPN years ago in something called RPM Tonight. I mean, this wasn't even NASCAR. This was open wheel, or whatever you call that sport, Shane, and he really worked his way up. He did NBA Tonight when the NBA was nowhere near the entity that it is today. But as a host, Reese is almost unflappable. He's not real flamboyant. He'll certainly give an opinion, but he's kind of the traffic control call with a lot of these guys. Is what it amounts to. Still does some play-by-play, but to see him rise up the ranks the way he has, he's been there now for 25 years, if you can believe that. So kudos to Reese for getting a new deal, and he certainly deserves it.
Yeah, and the one thing that he does such a great job, in my opinion, being an Alabama grad, he doesn't give a whole lot of love to, like some guys would with success at Alabama. And I know you have to stay neutral as a commentator and a broadcaster, but he does a great job in that area. Brent, the term super seniors, the seniors that are coming back due to COVID, there's quite a few on some of these teams.
There really are. And look, I think the number of super seniors you've got coming back might have a lot to do with how you do next season. Now, and particularly the schools that have double digits. Arkansas has 10, including Drew Morgan, the linebacker who led the nation in tackles, 12 per game, which is amazing. Now, Florida has 5, Georgia has 3, LSU has 6, notably their defensive linemen. Ole Miss, by the way, has 10, and some of those are their defensive linemen. Missouri has 12. Tennessee has 11, but again, that's not a real good roster, to be frank with you. A&M, watch for them. They've got 7, including a couple of defensive linemen, Jaden Peavy and also Michael Clemens. So, Shane, we've never dealt with this, have we, bud? Having seniors coming back. And look, you want experienced players to come back. That can make a real difference in the season, could it not?
It really could. And what's interesting, and I'm going to talk to John Patton from the Ocala StarBanner when we get to our second portion of the show today, the Baker Sporting Goods High School Roundup. Did you see, Brent, speaking of seniors coming back, the Kentucky Senate passed a bill to allow high school seniors to come back for another year, which I have no problem with that at all. But, man, that would be kind of cool to be able to – I know they didn't get to play their senior year, but to be able to come back for another year, I'm curious how many kids will do that.
Really? Yeah, me too. I think, frankly, probably a lot of them might do so. Now, obviously, if you're slam dunk for an SEC school or some situation like that, I can understand you not doing it. But and Shane, you remember this? Your senior year of high school football is important to you. There are a lot of memories, especially if you have a good season.
There is no question about it. I was fortunate to win a state title my senior year, so I couldn't imagine missing that year. Brent, we got any more playoff talk out there?
A little bit. There's still, as we get closer to April, keep this in mind now, the commissioners always meet in April, and hopefully they will come out with something a little more substantive than just we continue to monitor the situation. Jack Swarbrick, the Notre Dame athletic director, is now become one of the stronger voices in the playoff discussion. And again, I think the bottom line here is people are just beginning to realize that your non-Power 5 are not going to be able to play in the playoffs unless we expand it to 8. The Pac-12, and I understand sometimes they haven't deserved it, but they're not going to be involved with it much either. And again, we all know that we basically had the Alabama, Clemson, Oklahoma, Ohio State, Notre Dame have been the main teams that have been in it. And I don't think anyone's saying those teams don't need to be in. The question is, there need to be these other teams need an opportunity to be in the playoff, and the AFCA, which is one of the coaches association, those guys have gotten to the point of where they want to be able to do it too. And again, I'm glad to see it. It's something that's going to be done. The question is, when is it going to be done? All the contracts are going to be redone for TV, although the SEC basically has already redone theirs in the middle of this decade, say 2025. Now, Shane, as an astute business person, if you've got something coming up in 2025, you're not waiting to then to renegotiate, are you? That's going to be done, a couple of years at least in advance. So, I mean, it's 2021, brother. I think we'll know in the next 2 years, or at least maybe have something done as far as the contract is concerned.
Yeah, when it comes to the playoffs, I want them to expand to at least 8 or even more. But I also would like for them to do a playoffs for the group of 5. I just think that would just be so great for those schools. I think it would be very intriguing throughout the country. But I don't know if we'll ever see that. Brent, we got a couple of Facebook Lives here. It's going to lead into when we start talking about our going around the league. Alabama says they're going to go full capacity in the stadium. We got a couple of Facebook Lives here brought to you by Melton Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Sandy and John both want to know, what has Brent heard from stadium attendance in the fall? I know we've heard what Alabama has said. Have any other teams come out and said anything about the attendance?
You're beginning to slowly hear right now. Ross Bork at A&M has come out and said the same thing. That is their intention, is to have a full stadium. Now, look, Shane, let's be honest about this. These ADs in athletic departments are also trying to sell tickets, so that they're trying to get fan interest back. And I mean, the way we're looking at this virus, the way we're making progress, I mean, it's still quite a ways away until September. So I think we're going to hear more and more from ADs who that is their plan. Now, that it may not happen. Look, I think at this point, Shane, a lot of us would take 50% capacity compared to what we've got. So, yes, the two ADs who've come out prominently over the last week or so, or Ross Bork of A&M and Greg Byrne from Alabama.
Sticking with Alabama, I saw some stuff on, I guess it was on Twitter or whatever, where different interviews with Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle about how they said that they would take Mac Jones over Tua any day of the week. Were you surprised at those comments?
Probably a little bit. I mean, look, that's what a comparison there. Now, if Tua I would still say if Tua had not been hurt, he would have probably won another national championship and a Heisman Trophy. But it's hard to argue with what Mac did last year in his development as a quarterback. His accuracy and what that offense did was certainly comparable in some ways, maybe even a little bit better with what Tua. And again, I think what those guys are looking at, that they're looking at what they just came off of in the year where you win a national championship. So, but still, that's a hard argument right there. I mean, Mac had the best year. Does Tua have the best upside? That's hard to say, but I mean, it's becoming very obvious now that Mac's going to get drafted, and he's going to get drafted very high.
Yeah, he is. The more I watch and hear these so-called experts, they really like his tape, and they think he's got a chance to be a really good pro. I do as well. What's going on in Auburn, Brent?
One thing that is a great thing about us having a regular segment is we're able to follow some of these guys. Shane, did you see where Big Cat Bryant has transferred to UCF to be with Gus Malzahn?
Wow.
We were actually wondering last week where he was going. It looked like it was going to be Tennessee. That did not happen. He goes with Gus. So, and look, Big Cat has a great nickname, but he never really was that great player they thought he was going to be at Auburn. And as for some other Auburn news, Zach Farrar, the ex-wide receiver, he went to the transfer portal. At this point, he's been around a good bit, so we're not quite sure where he's going to go. Now, get this: his next school will be the 6th school he's transferred to in 6 years.
Red flags.
Very much. very much. Now again, I'm curious if you share this too. They're loaded at running back. Tank Bigsby, it could be the best running back in the league. I mean, he is that good. But now he's not alone at that point either. I think they will be good. Jacquez Hunter was a signee, so look for him. So, but again, Shane, you and I are, I think, in the same boat here. They've got to do something with the Bo Nix. If they can, the running game is really good. Their offense could be very much improved next year, couldn't it?
Yeah, and I try to think back to Brian Harson's offenses at Boise. They were kind of a pro-style West Coast, somewhat conservative. I mean, they had trick plays and things of that nature, but they like to run the football. And maybe Bo Nix is better suited in more of a pro-style deal where he doesn't have to be in the shotgun every down and rely on him throwing it. But, yeah, Bigsby's probably could be – I'm trying to remember, are the two running backs – I know, is it Aeneas Smith – from A&M, who I think is the best player in the SEC right now because he can do everything. Yeah. Is the Spiller kid back at running back?
Yeah, he is, as a matter of fact, yes.
Okay, so those would be my top two running backs, with Aeneas Smith being the best overall player in the league. Florida Gators are the only team, I think, in spring practice. They've been doing about a week and a half now, maybe 2 weeks. A lot of talk about Emory Jones replacing Kyle Trask. You're going to see a different type of quarterback, but everybody's talking about Emory can't throw. Emory's a decent thrower. He is nowhere near the thrower Kyle Trask is, and people need to realize that it's going to be a different type of offense.
Well, it will. And look, the thing you can hang your hat on is you've got one of the best offensive coaches in the league, if not the nation, in Dan Mullen, to be able to figure that out. And I still think, Shane, help me on this, that Emory is more when Dan's had big success, and I'm not saying he did with Kyle Trask because I love Trask, but when he had success at Mississippi State and also at Florida, that he's had more of a dual threat. And Emory gives him that. I like Richardson too, frankly. And the thing, and I talked about this the other day on First Coast News on our segment, the thing that really excites me about Florida is I think with these backs coming this year, the transfers they've got, Lorenzo Lingard, the kid from Clemson, I think they'll be able to run the ball, and with Emory's running ability, I'm not so sure if they can run the ball, Shane, if that's not going to open up the passing game or maybe give them some wide open receivers that they may not have had.
We just got a Facebook Live here brought to you by Meldon Law. This is a great question, Brent, and I'm trying to think of the correct answer. Trey wants to know, who's a better passer, Emory or Tebow?
Well, we haven't seen it. I don't know if we've seen enough of Emory yet to know.
You're right.
That, have we?
You're exactly right. Here's the thing. Emory's a more dynamic runner than Tebow was. Tebow is more powerful. Emory has a much better arm than Tebow. Tebow wasn't always very accurate or threw a great ball. I think what Emory's going to be able to do is make plays outside the pocket when things break down. But from an accuracy and an anticipation standpoint, neither one of them were very good. And those are things that you really can't teach. But I think Emory, like you said, I agree 100% what you said. When Dan's had the most success, when he's had that dual threat guy that can really, really be a good runner, and I think that's what Emory and Anthony Richardson bring to the table. None of them are even close to the thrower that Trask was because of his accuracy and anticipation. But they're a different type of player, and what Dan Mullen does so well is he adapts to what his players do. So it's going to be an interesting year, but I think you see both quarterbacks play because that's just what Dan does. What's going on up in Georgia?
Well, they're going to be beginning in a couple of weeks. Also, so we can look forward to that. JT Daniels obviously is going to be the quarterback that's coming back. One of their wide receivers, Tommy Bush, has entered the transfer portal. He never really did a whole lot, although he's got good size. I mean, goodness, he's 6'5", 195. You get matched up on a 5'10" cornerback. That's a really good match for them. I think the biggest thing going on would be Kirby Smart gave a report on the injured wide receivers, Dominique Blaylock, Marcus Rosamie, Jack Saint. You remember Jack Saint got hurt in the Florida game, Shane. You remember that? And that was a ugly injury that he had. And basically what Smart said is they're running straight lines. They're beginning to do more. And again, thankfully, it's only March. So they're getting better. They've got some changes on the offensive line after losing Trey Hill and Ben Cleveland. And I think it's too early for this. And people are counting Florida out too quickly. But you're already hearing this stuff about Georgia is easily the team to beat in the East. I don't agree with that. It's way too early. I mean, they've got plenty of 5 stars, and I think they'll be fine. And this will be another good Georgia football team.
Yep, a few more minutes with Brent Beaird here. What's going on in LSU? Any new news come out of there yet?
Well, the big thing that there is a report on the handling of the Title IX case that's going to be released tomorrow. So we need to keep our eye on this because this is extremely important. This is not just a Booster X gave players some money, so the NCAA is investigating it. That's one thing. This is Title IX, where we have got football players who have been accused, and this is not rumor, it's fact. USA Today did a big report on this, and that like there were 9 football players involved in violence with women, and maybe only 2 of them were punished. And that this is something that's going to be very difficult, I think, for LSU to work their way through. I mean, they've got their attorneys and schools looking at it, doing their own investigation. But Title IX stuff, Shane, just in a different department, is it not, than anything the NCAA was going to be doing with this?
Yeah, it's a total mess. The Tennessee Vols continue to lose guys to the transfer portal. I don't know if that's good or bad. Because, Brent, sometimes it's one of those deals where if you're a bad football team and you got X amount of starters coming back, hell, you still may not be very good. So I don't know if it's good that they're losing these guys or not, but it's interesting.
It is. Emmett Gooden is the defensive lineman. He's 6'4", 305. Really didn't do a whole lot in his career except having good size. Now, he's had some problems before. He was dismissed from the program last July, felony charge of domestic violence. I mean, that's going to follow him. He's got 1 season of eligibility remaining at his next school. So hopefully he'll get his life together. Tennessee spring game, Saturday, April the 24th. And Shane, that probably makes some sense that this is a new staff, and they're probably starting later and they're finishing later just because they need the time.
No question. Brent, you got any nuggets for us?
At A&M, 4-star Kendall Daniels has been given his letter of intent to A&M. That's interesting. Can kind of see where that's going to be. Listen, you mentioned this a few minutes ago. I like this A&M team. If they can replace Kellen Mond, and I think Jimbo will be able to do that defensively on their front 4, they're going to be very good because they come back intact. Is what that is. So I think they're going to be very good. They've got the Alabama game at College Station, so beware of that. Now, one thing I also want to mention about Missouri, Connor Basilak is really a pretty good quarterback. I know you've talked about him before, Shane. They like a kid named Tyler Macon. He's a 4-star prospect coming in. He's looked good. I thought it was just Florida. I forgot about that. Missouri is actually practicing too, so they're in spring. At this point, Ole Miss starts on the 23rd. Their defensive line is beginning to look better. They're pretty optimistic about where that's going to go. LSU is going to be starting soon. Their spring game's on the 17th. And again, the thing that is impressive for them or the guys that they've got along the line of scrimmage. I'm still going to be fascinated, and this will be my last note in terms of time. Would Johnson get that job? But Shane, they still really like Miles Brennan, and they're going to. You remember he was the starter. He got hurt. They flip flop a little bit, and Johnson ended up being the guy. So LSU will be in pretty good shape at quarterback.
Yeah, they should. Brent, we do a This Day in Sports. It's brought to you by Comfort Tip. I want you to hear it. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. This month, get a free annual maintenance plan with every residential duct cleaning purchased, $199 value. Service department's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So This Day in Sports in 1970, Jacksonville University is the first college basketball team to average 100-plus points per game. Is that the year Artis Gilmore, they went to the Final Four?
Yep.
They averaged 100 points a game?
Yeah, they were. I don't remember them averaging 100 per game, but they were. I mean, they were absolutely incredible that year. Rex Morgan was on that team. Unfortunately, Rex died. He was a coach, local high school coach here for years, Arlington Country Day. But they were very prolific. And Gilmore, as you know, is still a legend in this town. But people need to Google that team. They will be surprised about how good they were.
Yeah, they were outstanding. Well, Brent, you were good today, my man, with great information. We appreciate your time. We will talk to you next week. Be safe out there, my man.
Can't wait, pal. Take care. Thanks much.
That's Brent Beaird. Join us on the Titan of Our hotline. You can follow him on Twitter at Brent Beaird. Going to take our first time out of the program. We come back. We're going to switch gears to the Baker Sporting Goods High School Roundup. We're going to have John Patton from the Ocala StarBanner breaking down the Final Four. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning.
Hey Gators, this is Coach Steve Spurrier. PodUp with Matthews in the Morning. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. G-Tech Sport, keep your athletes in the game with G-Tech Sport. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Wrap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TV Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Darshakow Insurance. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit podupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Points, where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Dave & Buster's, Nike, Sushi Hana, Unzalane Day Spa, and coming June of 2021, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visor's Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. We're now going to head on down south a little bit to the location of the Final Four here on the High School Roundup. We're going to be joined by Ocala StarBanner's John Patton. Good morning, John. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing well. Before we get into what's the boys' Final Four, I don't know if they play today or tomorrow. It's today, right?
Santa Fe plays at 10. Forest plays at 6.
Okay. Before we get to that, let's go back last week. Cornelius Ingram's Hawthorne Lady Hornets fall a little short to go back-to-back. Were you surprised at how that game turned out?
Very much. They led the whole way. I didn't look at it was less than a minute that Ponce de Leon led. They were up 8-5 early. Hawthorne had an immediate 3 to tie it, an immediate 3 to go back ahead. And then with 8.2 seconds left, girl for Lily Brooks for Ponce de Leon hits a three. She was only 2 of 7 on the game. The team was 4 of 25 from 3 on the game. She hits a three to win the state championship. Ponce scored the final 10 points of the game. It was really, I felt for Hawthorne because it was a good team having a really, really bad fourth quarter. That happened to them. They had a lot of turnovers, and to her credit, she hit the big shot.
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate, but Cornelius has done a tremendous job at Hawthorne, no question about it. Okay, so the boys crank up today. We got 2 teams from North Central Florida. Let's start with the Santa Fe Raiders, led by their NC State signee. Who are they playing today, and do you like their chances?
They're playing West Nassau, and I think it should be a good game. West Nassau, they got an interesting player. You mentioned Ross is going to NC State. They've got a guy named Debo Coleman who's a 6'6" shooting guard going to Georgia Tech. Here's the crazy thing about him. In 2,283 career minutes, he has 2,506 points.
Damn.
Think about that. That's well more than a point a minute.
He can score.
24 points.
Wow.
Yeah, he averages 24.4 points, 9.1 rebounds, 6'6" shooting guard. Coach Harris at Santa Fe said, guy's a really gifted scorer, maybe the best scorer he's ever coached against, and he coached against Glenn Rice Jr. and a few others. So should be fun to watch. Those 2 guys may put on a show. They know each other. They're friends. And it could be fun to watch. So we'll see. Hopefully it should be a good game, though.
Yeah, so Santa Fe, I think they went to the Final Four not too long ago. Is this the first time? I've never really heard of West Nassau being in the mix to play for a state title in basketball. Is this like their first time ever?
I haven't looked that far ahead, but it very well could be. I'm sure they've been in the Final Four before, but I'm not sure. This might be the first state championship they would be going for. It is for Santa Fe also. Santa Fe's got 8 state championships in school history on their wall at the in the gym, and they're waiting for their first in basketball.
Gotcha. And so the winner of this game today will play the winner of who?
Titusville Astronaut versus Fort Lauderdale Pinecrest. Astronaut's 26-3. Pinecrest is 19-1. Pinecrest's here every year. I remember back in the day, I used to come cover them, and Brandon Knight was playing for them. So they're here every year.
Okay, so basically, they're you would say they're pretty much the favorite to win it, possibly.
It would be hard to say, but if you go by history, it's hard to pick against them. It's like St. Thomas Aquinas in football. You know, until someone beats them, it's hard to pick against them.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. We're speaking with John Patton from the Ocala StarBanner here on the Patton of Ocala hotline from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Got a Facebook Live here brought to you by Mellon Law. Ansley says, tell John that I said the first round is on him tonight.
All right. You got it, Ainsley. I promised her that a while ago, so she's got that.
She's probably not old enough to drink, is she?
Actually, she is. She's a college graduate now. Congrats, Ainsley.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, so now down in the Ocala area, the Forest Wildcats are going to I think it's their first Final Four. And somebody texted me, a good friend of mine, Todd from, let me see if I can find it, Todd from down in Ocala. He says the last Final Four team that Forest had was in 76, and they had a guy named Tyrone Young who played wide receiver at Florida, then for the Saints. How does this team compare to that team? You got any idea, John?
Well, I was 4 when they played the other one, so I just gave my age away. So I can't really tell you a comparison. I can tell you a little about this Forest team, though. They are big. They got 2 guys who are 6'8" up front that I call them Forest trees. And that's Brendan Laurent and Elijah Russell. They're both juniors. Elijah Russell's the one who hit the big 3 at the buzzer to beat Lincoln in the regional final. He is on the season 3 of 18 from threes. But all that matters is he hit the one that won the game. They got him here. They got a nice team. They got a lot of juniors on this team. So this may not be a one-time deal for them. And as far as, Tyrone Young was a receiver, so that team, it sounds like, was probably a little more guard-oriented. This one's a little more front-court-oriented. So that's the only real comparison I can make, I guess.
So you said this team has a lot of juniors on it. Does Forest, as Santa Fe has a kid going to the NC State, does Forest have anybody moving on to the next level?
Like I said, most of their college prospect type guys are juniors. Elijah Russell, the guy who hit the three, is a football prospect. He got offered. Great week for him. He hits the game-winning three to win the regional, and then he gets offered by West Virginia a few days later to play football. So he's a 6'8" defensive end. Lorient is probably the highest recruited player in the county. He's a junior. A lot of schools are after him at this point to play basketball. That'll probably come more into focus. Both of them are probably more so this summer. We'll have more idea where they're actually kind of looking to head. But one's going to play football, one's going to play basketball, it looks like. All
right, so who's Forest got tonight?
They've got defending state champion Bartow. Bartow's 19-4, went 31-1 last year and won it all. Their best player is a guy named Walter Clayton. He's a 6'3" guard going to Iona. Got to play for Rick Pitino. Averaging 16 points, 4.9 assists. They've won 10 straight, and all their regional games they won by double figures. So they've hit their peak at the right time.
And the winner of this game between Bartow and Ocala Forest will play who?
Here's a mouthful for you. Hialeah Gardens Modern Day Academy Charter, which is 20-2, and Punta Gorda Charlotte 21-9 play in the other semifinal today. So the winner will play. The two winners will play Saturday.
Okay, and so Buddy says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Law, Tyrone played QB for the Wildcats, he thinks. Buddy would have been around back then to cover the Wildcats. So, John, tell me this. What is the buzz like in Ocala? I mean, I'm trying to think of the last time. I guess Trinity Catholic has played for a state title in football. Vanguard's gone kind of deep in football at times, but has anybody been to the Final Four recently in the Ocala area?
A few years ago, Trinity Catholic played for a state title, and in the final, they ran into a team that had Scotty Barnes. I can't remember. Vernon, the big kid at Duke, who 6'10" kid who was in the NBA draft last year. They ran into like the number 3 team in the country in the state final, but they did get the state championship. It was 3 or 4 years ago. They were blocked off a little bit for a year or two by Trey Mann and the Villages, but they were the last team to make it.
Okay, so what's the vibe like in the Ocala area, especially the people that go to or alumni of Forest? Are they pretty excited about this? They're going to make the trip down. Where is it, Lakeland?
It's in Lakeland, and people seem to be pretty excited. And one thing about it is for Forest, for fan support, it'd be ideal for fans to come down and watch them play because Bartow's 13 miles from this arena. So, they're coming. And the truth is, I believe a lot of Ocala people will be here. I ran into a couple coaches at Bellevue last night. So I believe that the people from Ocala are going to show up and support their team. And it wouldn't surprise me if there's a little migration with some Ocala people supporting Santa Fe and some of the Santa Fe people supporting Forest.
What are they doing for the attendance there? Are they keeping it kind of low, or is it going to be a packed gym, you think?
It wasn't packed last week, but the girls generally don't draw as big a crowd as the boys do. But they did have decent crowds. And I imagine – I'm not real sure what they're doing as far as spacing goes, but last week there were people kind of cramped together. It was weird. One side had completely maskless. The other side had the majority of them wearing their masks. There are signs on the door you're supposed to wear them when you come in, but unfortunately, a lot of people don't follow along with that. But I expect pretty good crowds. Like I said, Bartow, I expect to come in full force. And I believe the Forest people and people from Marion County are going to come down and watch them. It's not a very far drive.
Refresh your vehicle and your brand with a vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot. March is your lucky month at Wrap Spot. Mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. A few more minutes here with John Patton from the Ocala StarBanner on the Baker Sporting Goods High School Roundup. Okay, so Forest and Santa Fe play today. They win. Do they play tomorrow or do they get a day off? I'm not sure how the high school tournament works.
There's a day off. And then on Saturday, I don't know the time specifically. I want to say that Santa Fe would be at 12:30 and Forest would be at 6:30, but I'm not positive on that. But those are roughly right. So, yeah, but they do have tomorrow off. Tomorrow would be yesterday they had some semifinals, so those semifinals would match up and have the finals tomorrow. Today has semifinals, and then those finals will be Saturday.
Yeah, we got a Facebook Live brought to you by Metal Law. Joe says his Charlotte Tarpons are playing tonight in the 6A Final Four in Lakeland. Go Tarpons. Vincent says, don't forget the state wrestling championship this weekend in Kissimmee. I don't know if there's any local. We probably should talk wrestling. I don't know if y'all have anybody in the Gainesville or Ocala area going to that. But we wish any young athletes that are going to be competing for a state title in wrestling a lot of luck. You know anything about wrestling?
I know it is going on this weekend. There are some locals that are going to be there, and we'll see if they come back with some medals. They very well possibly could be. Last year there weren't in the Ocala area, but I expect this year there probably will be.
Let me ask you this, because every time I have Mike Wright out on it, he and I talk about this because it drives me insane. So Forest is playing in the what classification today?
Forest is 6A, Santa Fe is 4A.
Okay, because I don't understand that. It makes no sense, because Forest is 7A, I believe, in football, and Santa Fe, I think, is 5A in football as well. I don't know why. I talk to Mike Wright out about it every time on this show, why every sport can't stay the same classification. Can you help me out?
Maybe a little bit. Every sport doesn't. Every school doesn't play every sport. So that means
why should that matter though?
Because they do it. They try and balance each classification with an equal number of teams. And when you don't have the same number total, you've got to do the division differently. And so there are cuts in some ways. That's the best answer I can give you. I think that's probably the only answer. Is that it's just different amounts of schools play different amounts of sports.
Yeah, I guess. I think the state of Florida is the only state that does that, and it makes no sense to me. Sandy says on Facebook Live, finally wrestling talk. I have a state champion son myself. Yes, Sandy, I'll be honest, I know nothing about wrestling, and maybe we should give a little more focus on that. John, so tonight I'm going to put you on the spot. I don't know, you being a journalist, if you're allowed to say who you think is going to win. Do the local teams move on to play for the state title on Saturday?
I think they both have a good shot. I would say, just from people I've talked to, Santa Fe might have a little better shot, and that's just based on the opponent. Bartow is, like I said, defending state champ. They went 31-1 last year. They've won 50 of their last 55 games. So, and that's a big test. But Forest is a lot bigger than Bartow if you look at the roster. So they've got that going for them. Santa Fe and West Nassau are pretty even. If you look at head-to-heads, just who they've played, Santa Fe's probably got a little edge there. If I remember right, Santa Fe went 4-2 against the teams they play head-to-head, and West Nassau went 2-3. So I could be wrong, but those numbers are close. So, Santa Fe's probably got a real good shot. Forest obviously has a shot. You get here, you've got a shot. Unless, you run into one of those nationally ranked superpowers, and then sometimes it's just kind of tough.
Let me ask you this. You may not know the answer to this, but it just popped in my head. I don't know how big the arena is in Lakeland, but it's bigger than the normal high school gym, correct?
It is, and one thing about it, the floor is bigger too, so that's an adjustment they've got to make. It's bigger and it's wider, so pressing teams could get a little tired, a little quicker. They've got to cover more space. Also, depth perception on threes.
Well, that's where I was going with this, because I played in a state championship game in Mississippi, and when we went and played in the Jackson Memorial Coliseum, the depth perception for high school kids, it's totally different. Have you seen, when you go and covered the Final Four in the last few years, teams have trouble shooting in this arena?
It was interesting with Hawthorne last week because both teams shot great in the semifinals. Their first time, you would think the first time would be the one where they might struggle a little bit. Both teams shot great in the semifinals. Neither one of them could hit anything in the finals. Like I told you, the team that won went 4 of 25 from 3. So it kind of depends. Years ago, I covered PK Young here. They had a guy named Terry Williams who was just lighting up Westminster Academy in the first half. He tore his ACL right before halftime. I felt bad for him, but he must have had like 18 points at halftime. It might have been 6 of 7 from 3 or something. He was, so it kind of just depends on the kid and how often they've been able to play in front of it. Ideally for these teams, they will get a walkthrough in this gym and be able to shoot some, but the depth perception definitely is an issue. They're not used to shooting with people behind the backboards generally. So it's a little different view for them. So it does take a little bit of time, a little getting used to.
Well, John, we appreciate you taking the time. Enjoy the games today. Let everybody know how they can check your workout down in Ocala.
Best way to find it is at Ocala Preps, and that's there. My personal one is at John_D_Patton, like the general. And if you go to ocala.com/sports, that's where we are. Gainesville.com/sports also for the Sun.
Well, we have General Patton and Marvelous Marty Paulman and our good friend Mike Rideout all at the Prep Zone. Hey, John, appreciate you joining us. Enjoy the games. We'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
That's John Patton joining us on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. I'll take our final time out of the pro. When we come back, we're going to wrap up this Thursday edition.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. G-Tech Sport, keep your athletes in the game with G-Tech Sport. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Chomp Carter Apparel, Ruse Ogra Agent, State Farm Insurance, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit PodUpWithShane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. At Center State Bank, we put business first. We are the largest community bank in the state of Florida and understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. Center State has 4 convenient Alachua County locations. Center State Bank, member FDIC. Really want to thank Brent Beaird, who gives us great knowledge about college sports, college football, for joining us, and also John Patton from the Ocala StarBanner breaking down the Final Four. Good luck to the Raiders and the Wildcats today. Also, want to let you know that our winner this week for the G-Tech Clean COVID-19 Survival Kit goes to Danielle Scantling. Danielle Scantling is the winner. Don't forget, you can go to the website PodUpWithShane.com. It's not a contest. They're just, the great staff is just going to pull a name out of the hat, and you might win the G-Tech Clean Survival Kit or a Chomp Harder hat, and we'll get that to you. We appreciate Chomp Harder giving us those hats to get out to all our loyal listeners. Tomorrow's show, we'll be joined by JC, obviously, but we'll also have former Gator pitcher, one of the best we ever had here, who pitched under Joe Arnold back in the early 90s. Mark Valdez, also longtime Major League pitcher and Major League pitching coach. He will join the program, talk a little baseball tomorrow. Let's see. Gators play Saturday at Thompson Bowling Arena against the Tennessee Vols, and we'll break that down for you on Monday. Anyway, today's show's a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. Be safe out there, folks. We'll see you tomorrow.